So some headlines that just got released just in the last 24 hours. Things that shows exactly why this election is so important. Let's talk about these. One deals with what Kamala just said to Georgia for a new law of accuracy when it comes to elections. One's RFK dropping a big bombshell that Pompeo was begging Trump not to release the JFK files. And RFK said he's willing to serve as CIA. Pretty intense. What about Zuckerberg? What did he just say about Biden-Harris? Mind-blowing. Let's talk about these things today because they impact you. And this comes, again, down to the choice of a unity ticket that wants America to thrive or a communist Marxist takeover. Let's dive in.
About to leave.
Hey guys, welcome to The Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new to the channel, go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell. Give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, that's okay, but let us know what you think about the content of today's video. The reason we talk about these current events, and again, sometimes I get tired of beating a dead horse when it comes to, dealing with the November election, but to be honest with you, if we don't talk about these things and we don't talk about how valuable freedom and current events are for the sustainable farmer, the prepper, the homesteader, the things that we do and plan for will almost happen because we see someone trying to take our freedoms away. So that's why it's so important that we know these things. So today we're going to talk about a few headlines that you may have missed. Now, RFK just went on a podcast with Tucker Carlson. It's kind of the first one he did after endorsing Trump. And a few things, of course, the whole interview is great, but one thing he said, and again, as someone who is a conservative, I'm not embracing Kennedy. To me, he still has some very liberal views, but there's some things of deregulations and things that he says that are brilliant. And one of them is just like what he talked about with Pompeo. He released the fact that Trump did say that if he released the JFK files, Pompeo begged him not to, but it would be very disastrous for the CIA. Now what that means is probably what we all know. And I love the fact that RFK is toying with the fact that he'd love to serve in the cabinet, and not only that, maybe as CIA director. That would be huge. I think he would be better as maybe a Secretary of State or Attorney General, so then he could just dismantle what he does not like about HHS or CIA. But I do think that that was a pretty good thought pattern there for him to say, you know what, this is something I'm interested in. If he asked me to serve, Trump asked me to serve, I would serve as CIA. I think that's a very good thing. Wouldn't that be very oxymoronic? Wouldn't that be very funny and almost completely an oxymoron, as I said, because what you're saying is the man who was really part of the legacy of what's been covered up, and even his family not embracing him, to turn around and be the one to expose the truth 50 or 60 years later, that would be amazing. Now let's talk about two other stories I think they're very important. Zuckerberg, I told you a few months ago, I don't like the guy, but I think because the Overton window has switched so much and moved around, I think you're starting to see people wake up, not to the fact of being more conservative, and that's where I want conservatives not to lose their conservatism, and I believe that's what we're seeing, but I wish we wouldn't. But I do believe you're starting to see people wake up and say, you know what happened to America? What happened to the simple, we may fight and tussle about certain little things, but ultimately we all wanted to see America thrive. Well, Kamala Harris and the people of the Democratic Party is not wanting that. They're wanting to dismantle everything we've built. And I think you're starting to see some of these billionaires and the people who helped make this happen come back and say, oh, I may have messed up. Well, Zuckerberg released in a post and with a letter stating in a bombshell report that Biden-Harris pretty much made it happen, and he worked alongside them to censor people when it comes to 2020, this, and also with the election. Now, that right there is what you would consider almost treasonous. That would be against millions of people First Amendment right. I'd love to see a class action lawsuit against Facebook Meta for this. Now, it won't ever happen, but I would love to see it. I'd love to see true people and patriots and conservatives say, you know what, we're going to bring a suit against you. I wish there was a lawyer that would do that, because I believe that would be a monster settlement for Facebook, especially when they have Zuck on camera and in a letter stating the obvious. Now, what that to me proves is not that Zuckerberg is a good person, bad person, not that he's coming around. What it proves is you have a government that was willing to take your rights away. Now, the important part of that is this. You know, when I told you that they want to censor you, they believe that free speech is not absolute. They believe that the Second Amendment is not absolute. They believe that the Constitutional is, you can use what you want, but then take away what you don't want. This proves it right here. Zuckerberg's release is not saying he's getting better. It's saying that the evil that we thought is actually evil. The fact that what we believed with the election and what we believed with 2020 and what we believed with lockdowns and things like that was all truth. And they used the biggest platforms to help suppress it. So think about that now. Now, I tell you all the time, please like the video, please share the video, because there's a lot of held down even on this platform as well. But the sad thing is that you're starting to see people, quote unquote, wake up and become awakened. This woke mind virus is ruining America. It's mind-blowing, because now we see the truth, we hear the truth. What are we going to learn from the truth? It's kind of like Georgia. Georgia comes out and says, oh, well, you know, Trump was probably right in 2020. There was probably some shady stuff. It doesn't matter now. It's 3.5 years later. It's kind of like the Biden impeachment. Come on. What is it going to do? It is such a fluff ball, and it shows how weak our Congress is as they want to impeach now. Or that Georgia Republicans are now saying, oh, it was probably true. Trump was probably right. So then they make a law to make it better. So after losing 4 years of our constitutional republic, watching it go down the drain, they all of a sudden want to do the right thing now. Now here's the thing. I want you to listen to this next story. Georgia is trying to fix their mess, which they should have fixed it before 2020, but they didn't, and now we're having to live with the consequences. But guess what? Kamala and the DNC. The DNC filed a lawsuit against the Georgia Election Board to block the new rule, which requires counties to ensure the accuracy of the votes before certification. So Democrats want to now sue Georgia for trying to do the right thing. You don't believe they're against the America that we've made? You don't believe they're against the Constitution? We just heard suppression and censorship. We just heard the fact that now they're trying to push the fact of certifying the election and making sure the integrity of the election is fine. They're lawsuing against. They're suing against that. Come on. I'm gonna bring up another story. You know, Trump went to the Arlington ceremony yesterday, the National Guard ceremony. Sadly, that should have been our president and vice president there. You know, they were invited 3 times. They turned them down. They turned down 2 ceremonies that represents our troops when they're supposed to be the commander-in-chief. And so Trump, of course, being the most popular when it comes to our law enforcement and our military, he goes. He looks very presidential yesterday. Sadly, within the last 45 days, I think Biden's been on vacation, 30? He's only been in the White House, I think, like a week and a half in the last 45 days. Where's our elected officials? Where is our president? Where's our Congress actually holding his feet to the fire? Where's Kamala? Oh, you know what Kamala's doing? She's trying to promote herself. And I guess what her new policy will be. Another breaking story. She wants to build a wall on the southern border now. Her new policy and agenda point is basically to build a wall. She wants to structure walls so she can make sure that she saves the border and saves America. You can't make this stuff up, man. She just come out with a policy saying that she wants to close the border. She should have closed the border for the last 4 years. Remember, she was the border czar. Now I want to bring up one more story, and this is where, again, it goes back to the whole point of this video of showing who's really for and against Americans. There was a guy, and this went viral. Colin Rugg shared it on Twitter, but it was a 28-year-old guy that was not buying a beach badge, a licensure, an ID for him to go surfing and be on the beach. A guy that is part of America. He's a citizen. And they arrested him. He had words with the police, and they arrested him. It went viral. Go back and watch. I promise you, if you open Twitter, you will see it. So our people, our enforcement takes a tax-paying citizen, someone who is a citizen of America, and tries to enforce a beach badge, a surfer license, and when he doesn't have it, they're going to give him a ticket and arrest him. This is the same country that we're arresting people for not having a beach badge, to not having a license to surf, but that we're allowing millions to walk across our border, millions to get free food and free housing with no kind of permits, no kind of licensures, no kind of ID. Millions to vote without an ID and without a permit and without a license to vote in our elections. Think about it. Did you know about 60 to 70 years ago, you didn't have to have a license to practice cutting hair? You didn't have to have a license to hunt, to fish. You didn't have to have a license and tagging system to let the government know what animals that you're needing to feed your family. You didn't have to have a license to cut somebody's grass. Make sure you have a license to cut someone's grass. The Democrats just had a wall around their conference and also made you have a photo ID to walk in the door. So citizens of America have to have certain permits, certain regulations, certain taxation, certain licensures to be on a beach. For instance, you know, when I went on vacation a few weeks ago, for me to go fish, I had to pay the fisheries basically for a day pass. I mean, like hundreds of dollars for my family to go fish, to have an outing. Citizens of America, tax-paying Americans, but then we allow people to get $10,000 prepaid Visa cards, stay in hotels for free on the taxpayer's docket, and basically get free health care. And all they did was walk across the border. So everything they've done is illegal, and then us as tax-paying citizens have to have licensures. Do we not find this upside down? Now, I believe both parties suck at fighting for us. But to be honest with you, there's one party that's fighting truly against us, and that's the Harris-Walls, the Biden administration, the Democrats. They're literally fighting to hurt the integrity of the election in Georgia. They're literally now trying to follow the Trump policies. She came out and said that she wants to, she wants to build a wall. That's Trump's plan. She also came out and she wants to take away tips. That was Trump's plan. I'm thinking the Trump administration just needs to send their agenda points to Harris, and then Harris will just take them over and say it's her plans in the start. This is the world we're living in, and this is what you need to pay attention to. Do not miss out on what Zuckerberg just said and how they are literally trying to take your rights of free speech, because it's not absolute. Your speech is not absolute, and he just proved it. A multi-billion-dollar man who literally is a liberal, a leftist liberal from California, just stated the obvious, that they wanted me to censor you, and I did. Now the question is, what's he going to do about it? The question is there going to be a lawyer to bring up a major civil lawsuit against him? A big class action lawsuit. Should, and I hope one lawyer will. I would love to see people wake up. It's sad that billionaires are waking up. It's sad that Georgia Election Commission's waking up. It's 3 or 4 years late, but they better do something different, because if they don't, then we're allowing the insanity to keep on going. Guys, give me your thoughts on these stories for today, and the fact that you have one party who is really not conservative. They're just learning to do things in a unity form to ultimately keep our freedoms as American, and then there's another party that's trying to destroy that. You have the choice, and it's time to make the choice and awaken. Guys, thank you for watching. God bless.
Be free.